Welcome back to another template design video, and we're looking at a mid to long par 4 today in the form of the Alps hole. This is based on the 17th at Prestwick, which features a blind second shot to a green that's hidden by mounding and has two bunkers in front of it. So what it's really doing is making sure that with a blind approach shot you trust the club in your hand and you can get your distance control absolutely right. Some may feel that these two hidden bunkers are a bit penal and you might want to run the ball onto the green, but the intent is really for that distance control, and they really do force that. Overall though, it's a really exciting approach and something that's just a little bit different, well worth studying and using your own designs. Back on the 10th at Fairyland, which is another great example of the Alps punch bowl complex, and again it's a long par 4. Now first of all, you can sort of just about see the bunkers on the skyline, and you are going to have that blind approach because of the green being sat down in that hollow, and you've got this big marker post to guide you. So you immediately see there's that blind approach aspect of the Alps hole, encouraging you to trust your yardage. As mentioned in the first one, it therefore really puts pressure on the tee shot. With this being a blind approach, you want to have a good stance. Imagine we didn't have the scout camera, and you want to be able to trust your yardage, which is far harder to do from the heavy rough. There is the punch bowl green complex, and this one's sort of doing some little steps all the way down, which add interest depending on where the pin is, and definitely will encourage you to. You can run the ball in off the sides, and so just hedge your bets a little bit horizontally, but vertically, if we think about what the hole is really trying to do, get you to trust your yardage, you're going to have to be spot on with your distance control, because being long on this is not going to be particularly pleasant, nor is being short. It's one of those holes where I think making a par is really all you want to do. So we'll try to hit a drive. Hopefully that's not a great drive, so we are going to be blind very much from this side. We'll be blind anywhere, but you can see that this green is going to reward okay shots and not punish them overly, whereas great shots will definitely be rewarded. And there's ways to get the ball close. There's this little feeder slope just off here, but that mound is going to protect this pin. As mentioned on the others, you've got that hidden Sahara bunker at the front, and another bunker way out left that I think is more visual than actually being in play. But it's a really fun hole for adding just a slightly different type of approach, and it's a way of adding interest to a long hole. You can see that you have to get your distance control absolutely spot on, because there's no fairway to run the ball on. You can't land it short and roll on, you've got to get your number right, but that is mitigated by the punch bowl style green. So the next hole we're going to look at is an absolutely iconic real life Alps hole, and that's the 4th at Fisher's Island. Now bear in mind that the distances here are not necessarily what you'd face in real life. Typically people will be hitting around 240 with 250 with driver, so it slightly changes the hole from these tees. But this is great in that you see you've got the big Alps mounding here. If you want to lay back, you potentially can see the green, but it comes at a cost of distance. The further up you drive, the more blind it is, and you also have a bit of an upslope the further you go, which makes it a little bit more interesting. In terms of the green, you also have that punch bowl, as we discussed, that's pretty common, and you have a large flag that's pointing you roughly where it is. The land itself is absolutely stunning for this hole. In terms of the green itself, you've got a little bit of internal contouring. You've got the slopes feeding the ball on if you're landing short, and you could land. Where this one's a little bit different to some others is, unlike the typical Alps hole, it doesn't have that bunker at the front, and you can actually land it short and release it way onto the green. So it's a relatively generous hole. So the 17th at Raynor is the Alps punch bowl here on this course, and what I love about this one, the reason I wanted to feature it, was because of the way it uses this out bounds line so well, and throughout the back nine that's done brilliantly. So if we look at where it is here, as you can see, it's all the way up the left hand side. Where's your best angle to the green? Well, it's from coming in from over here. If we're discussing the Alps and punch bowl again, well, this one gives you a way to get around that Alps, and it's a very subtle way of doing it. From here, if we lose that, you are going to be blind, you're not going to be able to see the tip of the flag, whereas from over this side you should be able to just see the flag. It's not quite rendering, but you can see it just about there. So the closer you play towards the trouble on the left, which is your more dangerous tee shot, the more you are going to be able to access that pin, and again the green slopes do benefit that. So it's as a par 5 Alps or punch bowl, he's used this as a chance to again really ramp up the pressure off the tee and ask you to hit a very brave shot. Or you bail out this way, and knowing that it's a punch bowl, well, you think you can probably be able to get the ball. If not close, you can probably get on and putt it, and two putt for a birdie. Other major features that you'd expect to see are also there. So that fronting bunker that's blind and to catch shots that aren't quite the correct distance, that's there as well. And it's not the worst miss in the world on this one. And again, with a punch bowl, as we've seen before, there's still a lot of interesting internal contours. Got a spine at the front and at the back, a little plateau up here. It's quite a fun green that offers you a variety of different options. It's a really short par 5 as well, so you do feel that you can lay up and not go for it. It's just going to pile a load of pressure on that approach shot, but you can potentially get here with 2 3-woods, maybe not into this wind. But again, bunkering position off the tee is excellent, combined with that out of bounds on the left hand side, and it's a really good study of how you can make a short par 5 interesting. So we're looking here at what is currently termed Old Ghosts, which is a work in progress from BS Petty 24, and this is his 17th, which is a drivable Alps hole and definitely a twist on the concept. So it's based slightly on the second at NGLA, and as you can see, you've got options all around, whether you run to the end of the fairway or you can even land just over the crest of the hill and run the ball all the way down, which might lead to you driving the green. So leaping back to the tee here, and you can see that you can just make out the tip of the flag, giving you an idea of where it is. Now for this hole you want to be hugging the left hand side as much as possible, but there is some fairway camber that can run the ball down there as well. However, if you don't quite make it all the way down, you run the risk of having a side slope with an awkward pitch towards that green. Where this hole gets really interesting is if you take driver and just drive at the lighthouse, which is very well placed, then you can potentially run all the way down to the green, making this drivable. So it's a really simple hole, but one that gives you a choice. Do you want blind approach and a pitch shot? How far back do you want to be? Or do you want to be really cavalier and go for it, knowing that if you miss and end up all the way down here, you could be in an awful position. So another interesting spin on how you might do an Alps. So the next one we're going to look at as a different spin on the Alps is the 12th at Potunk by T. Petro. Now this one, the first thing that leaps out is it's a short par 4, 410 yards is driver and flip wedge, but it does have all the elements that you'd expect. So there's the dune in front, that means that the approach is blind and you're relying on distance control, which makes sense potentially for a partial wedge. You've got that Sahara bunker in front, and you've got a gentle punch bowl around the edge with some interesting internal contouring. For example, this spine at the front, which means that if you're coming in from the wrong side of the fairway, that's potentially going to cause havoc with you trying to reach the right pin. He's pinched the landing zone a little bit, so you could go down this side or you can go down this side. You've got to worry about rollout of driver a little bit, and you may choose to lay up, which makes it a little bit of a longer approach. But it keeps all the same tenets that you're used to. It's just proof that you can do it on a shorter hole. It doesn't necessarily need to be a long one, and it's one of my favourite holes on this course. The next spin on the Alps hole that we're going to look at is the 16th at Pithy Dr. G's awesome Shelter Island Club, and this one you can see that major dune in the background from a mile away. Now in terms of the landing zone, it's around about here, and you can actually work around the dune if you challenge this bunker, and the land will move you just round to the right, which can give you a little bit of a peek around and a look at the flag, whereas most of the time you're coming dead over that dune looking at it from this side. The dune itself is a real heroic carry. You can lay up short if you want to, but if you can crest the dune, there's actually a lot more fairway than you think, and everything falls down and towards the flag, which is in this little punch bowl green. It's a really awesome green site that is very creative, and maybe you wouldn't naturally go out of your way to find, but it's a really good example of finding a natural feature that's very cool and using it in a way that's creative and is going to produce a really exhilarating shot. So that's our Alps hole. Really what it's designed to do is to test distance control with a long iron, and it's often combined with a punch bowl green to do that as well, but there's a number of spins that you can put on it. It's also playing with blindness and really just making people trust the club in their hands when they can't necessarily see where the flag is. It's a lot of fun and can definitely add some variety to your course if used well, but like I say, there's loads of ways in which you can use it slightly differently. Hopefully as ever you've found this useful, and see you soon.